If you're looking for a bump in height for your 2021 or newer Bronco, regardless if you're doing it for a better look on the street or some better functionality on the dirt, this Rough Country 2-inch suspension lift kit with M1 struts and shocks will be one that you want to check out. Now, this kit will not fit the Sasquatch packages, Badlands, First Edition, Raptor, and Wildtrak models, so just keep your setup in mind when looking at this lift kit so you get the right one for your Bronco. Now, regardless, this is going to be great for the Bronco owner in search of more than the average spacer lift to create a more responsive ride experience and a more aggressive presence to the build. Now, everything on the table here will offer a reliable balance of off and on-road performance, perfect if you do a blend of both driving styles and want a kit that's going to be able to handle both scenarios very well. Now, this kit will consist of 4 pre-assembled strut and shock setups that's going to offer a 4-corner 2-inch lift to improve ground clearance, to scale hazards more efficiently, fit up to a 35-inch tire, and again, promote a bolder appearance to your build. I do want to mention that if you have a more aggressive offset or tire tread when it comes to having a 35, that you may have to do some minor trimming, but for the most part, 35s will fit with no other modifications needed. Now, the benefits that come with this kit come from the monotube struts and shocks and the vehicle-specific springs for a long lifespan with consistent performance thanks to the more advanced monotube design. Now, that will allow the gas and the oil within the shock to stay separate to eliminate shock fade or any squishiness when working the shock hard over time. This set will also include digressive valving, keeping stiffer performance at slower shaft speeds like on the highway for reduced body roll and increased control, but when increasing the shaft speed over bumps at faster speeds, it will create a bit of a cushion to help reduce any chatter and help integrate some comfortability in the ride. Now, again, as I mentioned, that's going to offer a really good balance and more adaptability when it comes from transitioning between the street and off-road. These will have a 2-inch extruded aluminum body, which is going to dissipate heat well to keep the shocks and struts working very efficiently, and they'll be zinc coated for corrosion resistance over time. They each will also have a 46mm digressive piston, which again is where we're going to get that adaptable performance, and an 18mm chromoly rod for rust and nick resistance to hold up well to on and off-road abuse. The kit will also include vulcanized natural rubber bushings for a tough OE replacement that will avoid cracking over time, and the kit will be completely bolt-on and include all of the hardware necessary to do so for a mostly hassle-free install. Now, this kit is roughly $1,200, and it is in the middle of the road when it compares to other kits in the category. Now, it's not going to be completely over the top on price or over the top on components if you're looking for a more basic style lift kit that's going to give you the better performance that you may be looking for, but it's going to offer much more than the average spacer lift. Now, it's also going to be a higher performance choice next to Rough Country's N3 series because of the aluminum build and the monotube build rather than a twin tube steel shock and strut, which is going to last much longer, but it is going to be more mild than some other higher performance reservoir choices. So if you're looking for that middle ground, you want adaptable performance, you're doing both driving styles, street and trail, and you want a solid shock that's not going to completely break the bank, but also give you a nice lift for your Bronco, this is going to be a solid choice. Now, this install will require mechanical experience at a 3 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and with the right tools and setup, it should only take about 4 hours or so to get the job done. Now, at this point, I'm going to pass it over to one of our installers. They're going to show you a detailed step-by-step breakdown on how these are installed on the Bronco, whether you are just curious about the install or you're tackling this install yourself. So I am going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and hop into the install.
For this install, you will need various pry bars, a breaker bar, a bungee cord, 15 and 18mm ratchet wrenches, various impacts, a clip removal tool, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 15mm S ratchet wrench, 3/8 to 1/2 inch adapter if necessary, an extension, a swivel adapter, 7, 10, 16, 18, 19, 21, 24, and 27mm sockets, a ball joint tool, a ratchet, 30, 27, and 24 millimeter wrenches. And also not shown here is a pole jack or jack and jack stands. What's up guys? Today we're gonna be doing a lift kit on our Bronco, so let's get started. Alrighty guys, so we've got our Bronco in the air, we've got the wheels off of it, and we're gonna need to remove a few things so we can access our factory strut. So we're gonna remove our brake line bracket from our knuckle with our 10 mil socket on our impact. Then we'll come around and remove our sway bar end link as well as our outer tie rod, and then we'll move up to our upper control arm ball joint. Alright, so we'll start with our brake line and ABS bracket. So we've got our 10 mil socket. Pop that out. It does have a locator on it, so you want to pull that out and away. Make sure that's nice and loose. And we'll just stick that bolt right back in to keep track of it. Next, you'll want to remove the lower nut on your sway bar end link. Now, as you can see, ours is already off because we already have it off on the other side, which you definitely want to take both sides off at the same time. For this, you will need a 21 millimeter socket on your impact, and you can just pop that off. Next, we're going to remove the 21 millimeter nut from our outer tie rod. So we've got our 21 mil socket. We'll pop that off. Set that aside. So now we're going to need to unseat our tie rod from our knuckle. Now you have a couple options with this. You could take a hammer, if that's what you got, and tap it on the side of the knuckle. That should pop it loose. Or you can grab a ball joint tool. Now these are readily available for rental at any auto parts store. So we'll hook this in on our knuckle. Get that lined up. You want to tighten up your push rod on to your ball joint. And for ours, we're going to use a 16 millimeter socket to pop this loose. And once that pops out, you can move it aside. Next, we're going to loosen up our nut on our upper ball joint. We've got an 18 millimeter socket and a swivel with an extension on our impact. We're not going to fully remove this just yet. Bring that down to the very end, but it's still on a couple threads. Now we're going to use that same ball joint tool to separate this one. Or again, you can use a hammer if that's all you got. Get this set. Once again, we'll use that 16 millimeter socket with our swivel and extension this time. Now once we have this separated, we're gonna grab ourselves a bungee cord, wrap that around our knuckle. You wanna hook this to a secure spot on your frame rail. This is gonna keep your knuckle from falling out in the way and pulling on your axle excessively. So we'll hook that in. Then we can push down on our control arm. You need to loosen your nut up a little bit more. Take this nut off, let our control arm come up, and we'll move our knuckle out of the way. Next, we're going to remove our two lower strut mounting nuts with our 18 millimeter socket. Next, we're going to loosen up our three upper strut mounting nuts. So we've got a 15 millimeter ratcheting wrench. We'll get after these. Now we are going to leave this first one loosely in place. We can fully remove the other two. Now this back one can be a little bit tricky to get onto, but you do have room. Make it easier to fold this flap out. You can remove that. Now we're going to fully remove that last nut. And we can get ready to pull our strut out. Now once you have your studs over your lower control arm, grab onto your strut and pop that out. Then once you have this side out, you can repeat the same process for the other side. So now we're going to install our new strut. So we're going to line our upper studs up with our top perch. Then we'll slide our lower one in place. Get that lined up. Now you are going to have to pull down on your knuckle a little bit to get this in. You may need to bring back your pry bar to get this in position. So now once we've got this into the lower perch, we're going to use our pry bar to help us line up our lower mounting points, and we're going to grab our provided bolt and flat washer. Send that first one through the top. We'll line up our other mounting point and do the same thing. So now that we have our bottom bolts in, we're going to install our 3 upper nuts on our studs. Get all these loosely in place. And this back one, you can pull this flap out, give you a little better access to it. Now we're going to leave these just hand tight for now, then we'll come in and get our bottom nuts on. So now we're going to come to the bottom of our lower mounting bolts and install our flat washers and lock nuts. And once you have these on, we're going to grab an 18mm wrench for a bolt head and a 19mm socket on our impact to tighten these down. Next, we're going to swing our knuckle back into position and get our upper control arm back into our knuckle. You will need a pry bar for this with the added length. It's going to be a little bit difficult to get this down. What we'll do, swing this over. Take our pry bar. This in position. And we'll get our nut back in place. Then we're going to bring back our 18mm socket and swivel. Tighten this back down. And once you have that on, you can remove your bungee cord. Now we're going to bring back our 15mm ratchet wrench and tighten down our mounting nuts for our strut. We can tuck our flap back in. Now we can get our tie rod back in place. We'll line them back up in our knuckle. You may need to move your knuckle around a little bit. We'll reinstall that nut. And we'll tighten that back down again with our 21mm socket. Now we can get our brake line and ABS line bracket back in place, and then we'll come down and get our sway bar end links back on. We'll line up our locator. Get that 10mm bolt back in. And we'll tighten that back down with our 10mm socket. Now we'll get our sway bar back in position. We'll have to pull down on this. You want to make sure both sides are going in, so you want to double check your other side as well. Now once you've got your links through your lower control arm, you can reinstall those factory nuts. You can bring back our 21mm socket, tighten these down. And we'll do the same thing for the other side. Now once you've got this side on, you can repeat the same process for the other side. So now we're going to need to remove our rear suspension, and we're going to need to remove our fender liner to gain access to the top mounting bolts for our rear struts. So in order to do that, we're going to remove our flare first and then come in and remove our fender liner. The flare is just held in by some clips, and then the liner itself is held in by a few 7mm screws and some push clips. So we'll get our fender liner off first. Just pop all these, and they just turn counterclockwise to unlock. We can pull this out. And we're going to come in and remove our little mud guard. It's got 3 7mm screws. We've got our 7mm socket. One underneath. There's also a push clip holding it in. Get that out as well. Now the push clips holding this in do have a Phillips head center. A lot of times they don't want to come right out with the screwdriver, but you can use it to get them back to a point where you can use the clip removal tool. So that's what we'll do. We're just going to unscrew these a bit. Again, sometimes they just don't want to come out with the threads. Try to at least get them loose. When you're doing this, you want to really not apply any pressure to the screwdriver. Kind of let that screw float itself out, but you will need to hold the outer part of the clip. There's also one way in the back here. Get some in the middle. Now in addition to those, you do have 2 little thumb screws. Sometimes it's only one that you will need to remove from up top. Come in and get all these clips out of the way. Now once you have all your clips out, you can pull out your fender liner. All right, so now we've got our vehicle lifted up. We've got some pole jacks under our differential to help support it. And the first thing we're gonna do is loosen up our track bar. So we've got a 24mm socket on our impact. Now these do have flag bolt head and a capture nut, so you don't need a wrench with it. Just gonna loosen these. And we just need to loosen it. So now, just like we did with our track bar, we're going to need to loosen up our mounting bolts for our lower and upper control arm. So we've got a 24mm socket on our impact. Also going to have a 24mm wrench for the upper control arm bolt that is next to your exhaust. So we'll start loosening these up. Now you may need a breaker bar as well for these because they are kind of tight. And again, they just need to be loose so they can pivot pretty freely. Now that we've got this one loose, loosen our upper control arm bolt and then the 2 up front. Now we'll get our upper control arm bolt right above our differential. Again, these all have flag heads on the bolts, so you don't need to hold them. And we'll do the same for the upper control arm bolt on this side. And we'll do the same thing for our lower control arm bolt over here. Now once you've got this side all loosened up, you can do the same thing for the other side. So now once we've got all of our control arm bolts loosened up, we're going to go to our lower strut mounting bolts. Now for this, you're going to need a 27mm socket on an impact and a 30mm wrench. Now once you have this side loosened up and the nut removed, you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we're going to remove our lower strut mounting bolt. I'll pop that out. Then you can repeat that for the other side. Next we're going to remove our 3 upper mounting nuts for our strut. We've got our 15mm ratcheting wrench. We're going to remove 2 fully, just loosen 1 so we can support our strut. And then we'll remove that one and pull it out. So now we've got our other two mounting nuts removed fully. So we'll support our strut, get our last one out. And we'll remove our strut. Once you have this side out, you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we can get our new strut in place at the upper perch, and we're going to grab one of our supplied mounting nuts and get that loosely on. Once we've got that one holding it, we'll get our other two on. Okay. Now that we have both of our struts hung, we're going to lower our differential down so we can line up our lower mounting point and get our factory hardware back in place. Now we've got this lowered into position, we're going to reinstall our factory bolt. Once you get it started, you can see if you need to drop it down a little bit. It should get right back into place. We're going to reinstall our factory nut. And we'll do the same thing for the other side and come back and tighten them down. Now we can tighten down our lower mounting bolts again with our 30mm wrench and our 27mm socket. And you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we'll come back up top and tighten down our upper mounting nuts for our strut. And we're going to use a 15mm ratcheting S wrench. Makes things a lot easier. And once you have this side tight, you can do the same thing for the other side. Now we can come back and tighten down all of our hardware that we loosened up, including our lower and upper control arm bolts, as well as our track bar bolts. And we're going to use our 24mm socket on our ratchet. You want to make sure you follow the manufacturer guidelines for torquing these down, whether it's up in the air, on the ground, under load. Definitely want to follow that. Remember to get the rest of these up in here too. And once you got this side tight, you can do the same thing for the other side. Next, we can reinstall our fender flare. Make sure you line up your thumb screw stud. It's going to make things a little bit easier. Push this back up into place. Then we'll reinstall all of our push clips as well as our front mud guard with our 7mm screws. Get our thumb screw back in. Get our clips back in place. Once we have those back in, we'll reinstall our little mud flap. Get our locator clip back in. Reinstall our 3 7mm screws. One down the bottom. Once we have those in, we can reinstall our fender flare. This will just line back up. Pop that back in and re-secure all of our latch clips. And once you're done with this side, you can repeat the same process for the other side. Alrighty folks, that about wraps up our review and install of our Rough Country 2-inch suspension lift kit with M1 struts and shocks for your 21 to current Bronco without Sasquatch package and excluding the Badlands, First Edition, Raptor, and Wildtrak. Thanks for watching, and as always, for everything Bronco, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.